I'm Harry, and welcome back to Drum Electric. So I've recently got the Octapad, the SPD 30, and it's a little bit different than the SPD SX, the Pro and that sort of stuff, in how it functions and what it does. So here's a really quick video going through all the basic functions so that you, when you get your hands on one, you can turn it on, you know how to use it, you know how to sample with it, and you know how to use the really cool loop and phrase feature. So let's get started. The first thing we want to do is power it on. So once it's plugged into the back, you can use the power button at the top just to turn it on. The screen is going to beautifully fade in and all the LEDs are going to light up. It's going to be wonderful. You will get this screen just saying that it will turn off after, I think it's 4 hours if nothing is being used. So if you're using this in a gig situation, just be careful, because sometimes when you go from sound check to show, that might be 4 hours if it's, you know, one of those days. But you may want to be careful before you get on stage and go, oh, it's gone. So I did want to briefly just touch on this because it is just a power button. It's relatively simple, but it's important when you turn it off that you do hold down the power button and then unplug it rather than just straight unplugging it. Obviously, it does happen sometimes when people trip over cables and all that sort of stuff, but just be careful because most of the time that's when the actual unit is saving and making sure it doesn't crash the next time you turn it on, that sort of thing. So just a little quick heads up. In terms of audio outputs, you can find them all on the back. If you're listening through headphones or in-ears like I am, then you can plug it into the phone's output and you can control the volume up the top, just up there. Or if you're sending this to front of house as well, you can use the master outputs. In this case, I'm just using the left mono master output, so you'll hear it in mono. But if you did want it in stereo, you can use those there. And that has the separate volume up here on the master, which is really cool. So getting into the meat and the potatoes. Meat and potatoes? Meat and potatoes, if you will. Never said that before in my life. The actual pads themselves, let's trigger some stuff. So on the Octapad, there's 8 pads rather than the 9 that we find on the SX and the SX Pro. And the difference here, and why this is actually a really cool piece of kit, is because each pad has 2 velocity settings, rather than the SPD SX only has 1. So the SPD SX is a one-shot sample. This is a dual shot, if you will. Basically, it just means that when you hit it, if you hit it harder, you get a different sound. So if I choose this hi-hat, for example, the bottom right pad, if I hit it quite lightly, you just get the closed hi-hat sample. If I hit it quite loud, you get the open hi-hat. It's really handy. It makes it a little bit different and a little bit more musical. So if you're using more percussive elements like congas, bongos, that sort of stuff, it's a lot nicer to play because you can hit it like you would a normal drum. So that's really cool and something to be aware of. So each pad has a different sample, as does the SX and the SX Pro. If you want to switch the kits on the right-hand side here, you can do it in 2 ways. You can either use the bottom buttons down here that are lit up, the kit one, and you can just go all the way through. There are loads of them, and they all sound really good, actually. Or you can use the knob just here. I think this is knob 1. And it brings up the list, and obviously you can scroll down and find anything you want. And once you found it, you can just use the OK button. Let's go to drums and percussion set. Hit OK. It'll now go to that kit. It saves you having to like tap the button loads and loads of times. So there's a really handy little thing there. So if you actually want to change a sample itself on here, so you like the sounds but you want it to be slightly different or something like that, then what you can do is you use the menu button. You can go to Inst, and then you get this menu here. Now, like I said before, each pad has 2 samples on it. So you can hit it at a certain velocity, one will trigger, you hit it harder, the other one will trigger. That's layer A and layer B. So layer A is sort of your main sample, and layer B can kind of be thought as your sub-sample. So if you've only got like a one-shot sample, it's only one thing, then layer A is your friend. Whereas if you do want the 2 differences in samples, the velocity hitting thing, then A and B is where to go. In this case, as we can see, there's layer A. We're going to use the 3 knobs at the bottom here. So if we use knob 3, which is the one to the right here, we can change the actual sample itself. And if we didn't want that group, then we could actually use the second knob to switch between different groups. Now, this is all stuff like kicks, snares, percussion. There's a big old list, but it just really helps because it means that everything's ordered and it's easy to find, which I appreciate. Once you've selected it, you can just hit OK, and then you have the sample. So in this case, I've already kind of shown it with the hi-hats, but if you wanted to hear what a conga sounds like, then you've got layer A, and then there's layer B. Same with if you wanted to select a different pad, just hit it, and as you can see, the screen changes, and you can have all of those settings right there. Once you're done, just hit the back button, and you're straight back to the main menu. So up to this point, that means we can now play the samples, change kits, that sort of fun stuff. But the really cool main feature of the Octapad is the recording facility within it. So you can actually use this as a little looper, and that's what makes it really exciting and different from the SX, the SX Pro, and the other stuff. So to get there, there's a couple of different menus, and this is what I struggled with as well. So the first thing is if you hold the standby button, you get this menu here. Now what this means, the top row is measure and the second row is beat. So right now it's on 4 measures, 4 beats. 4 bars, 4 beats. To change that, you can either use the control buttons or you can hit the corresponding pad. So as you can see on the menu, they're all laid out 4 up, 4 down. It's the same as the pads. So if I wanted 2 measures, 4 beats, then I can do that there, which is really handy. I can also activate the click by hitting the click button, and there it goes. I'm going to keep that going, so it's going to be a little bit annoying. But once you've done that, then you're going to get into this menu here, and basically, once the recorder's flashing, as soon as you hit the pad, it's going to start recording. So I'm going to do that now. And now I've got my loop. So what I want to do is then move it from the record to play if I then want to play it without it recording another layer, or you can go down to part 2, part 3, and actually start layering different things. So I've got this loop, I've got a drum kit in front of me. That now means I can just play with the kit. Alright, that's still going. It's getting a little bit annoying. So you can hit the play and record buttons at the same time, and that's how you stop it. And then if you did want to play it again, you can just hit the middle button. It'll start again, but without click, which is quite interesting. But that's because you're playing it rather than recording it. So there you go. That's how you record a loop and have a little bit of fun with it. And if you wanted to exit out of there, then you just hit the standby button again. Are you sure? Because you will lose the loop. So my beautiful creation is now gone. But now I can choose all the kits again and mess around with it as if it's a sample pad. So that's it for now. That should give you hopefully a basic understanding of the SPD30, the Octapad. I did find it quite confusing when I first used it, so hopefully this helps and means that you can sample things and go through the kits and loop things and just have fun with it, because it is a really cool thing. It's just a bit weird to use. So with that, if you have any questions, please lob them in the comment section down below, because I'd love to help out wherever I can, and I hope you have a fantastic day.